There have been countless revolutionary video games throughout the years, starting from Super Mario 64, Doom, GTA, and all the way to Minecraft. But there is one game that is often forgotten, but also the most technologically innovative game of its time. What game is that, you ask? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the story of Trespasser. Jurassic Park is arguably one of the most iconic movie and novel series from the 90s. There have been countless games ever since it was released, from the NES Jurassic Park to the LEGO themed Jurassic World. If you have watched the series, you know that Jurassic Park was built on an island named Isla Nublar off the coast of Costa Rica. But because of the limited space, they used another island named Isla Sorna for research purposes. This is often referred to in the second movie as Site B. This video game was meant to be the sequel to The Lost World, but also a prequel to the original. After 1 year of the island being abandoned, you play the role of Annie, the protagonist, who is the sole survivor of a plane that unfortunately crashed into the island. As you explore this mysterious world, you learn more about its history and why Jurassic Park fell. This is told by none other than Dr. John Hammond himself.
Engine. Some kind of... Wait. International Genetic Technologies. That was the company from the dinosaur trial. After the trial, that old guy, John Hammond, wrote a book. He said it was somewhere in Central America.
My name is John Parker Hammond. I was born on March 14th, 1928.
Oh, no. Oh, God. This is Site B. This is John Hammond's Lost World.
Pursued by dinosaurs, Annie makes use of weapons left behind to defend herself. She follows a monorail track into the island's core.
Well, they certainly were serious about their monorail.
And, after recovering security cards from an InGen town and rebooting a computer to activate a mountaintop radio tower, your next objective is to find an emergency phone channel that will bring you to safety. The game was made by two former employees of Looking Glass Technologies, which was at the time a video game developer based in the US. One of them was the soon-to-be video game god Seamus Blackley, the creator of the Xbox, and Austin Grossman, who is now an author and video game designer. He's famous for his work with Deus Ex and Dishonored. With the film The Lost World Jurassic Park expected to be a success, the two secured the movie license, and approached countless studios before signing with DreamWorks Interactive, Adobe Photoshop 5, 3D Studio Max, and Electronic Arts as their publisher. The game was officially a go. And to make this as immersive as possible, a 3D model of the island was built and digitally scanned to construct the game environment. John Williams, the composer with over 36 Grammy Awards, was even contracted to compose music exclusively for the game. but problems started popping up immediately after the game started development. Trespasser went severely over budget several times throughout its making. Originally, the game was to be released in the fall of 1997. However, due to a number of issues in how advanced the game was becoming, the project was delayed by a year. Does this sound familiar? The rush to release the game caused many features to either be cut, left unfinished, or was completely abandoned. Literally, Annie's left arm was removed from the game due to difficulties coding the behavior of both arms together. Still, the right arm does some weird movements once or twice. An IGN reviewer in 1998 said, quote, "But the most annoying graphical problem is the arm effect. As you look through Annie's eyes, your right hand constantly flops around in front of you. And I do mean flops. Now this might not be a bug, but it sure is stupid. When you're holding a pistol, it's almost as if Annie has just downed a bottle of tequila. Now that is surely embarrassing." But one of the craziest parts? Literally mid-development, they changed the game's genre from survival horror to action shooter. This will later result in many complaints upon release. Additional problems were caused by the lack of experienced management and the use of artists who were new to basic game development processes and 3D modeling. This is clearly stated by art director Terry Izumi in an interview during development.
Well, part of the kind of challenge we set before ourselves is to bring the look of the game to a new standard. And our thoughts on that was, if we pull from the same talent that other game companies are, we are likely to get the same kind of look. After discussing it and thinking about it a lot, our decision was to just pull from wherever we thought good artistic talent may lie and bring them up to speed on what's required of them for this medium specifically. I think bringing that fresh look and some of the lack of parameters under which to work have helped both us in expressing ourselves, but in refreshing some of the ideals that normally go into what can and can't be done into the game industry, specifically visuals.
Finally, on April of 1998, after developing for over 2 years, DreamWorks Interactive informed the development team that as a part of a deal with AMD, Trespasser will need to release in October of that year. Even though Blackley estimated Trespasser needed at least another year of development to be release ready, there were no changes to the release date. The team rushed the remainder of development, and Trespasser released as an unfinished game set in a very large and open outdoor environment. This will later lead to even more complaints on how empty the island feels. These issues were also caused by the game development starting before the studio, 3DFX Voodoo 1, moved towards 3D hardware. As a result, some techniques including bump mapping and image caching were too advanced for the hardware at the time. This will later cause more complaints about how the game was laggy even on some of the most expensive computers at the time. The Trespasser engine also contained several features not normally seen in game engines at the time. In 1998, it was one of the first engines to successfully portray outdoor environments full of hundreds of trees. Computers in 1998 could not handle the complex environments it generated. In addition, the Trespasser engine featured the first game in the world to be completely influenced by realistic physics, and was also the first game to use ragdoll physics. One of the most advanced features of the rendering engine was the ability to render objects like trees and rocks as 2D objects, which, when close enough to Annie, will be replaced by their 3D costume. This technique was known as imposters. This often led to a very ugly popping where a low-resolution object suddenly pops into 3D. In the final release of the game, the dinosaurs were not allowed for making jump attacks and entering buildings to avoid interpretation, a glitch where two objects would collide and then become stuck inside one another. Andrew Grant was Trespasser's chief artificial intelligence programmer. But at the time, AI was still in its early versions compared to today. Every animation in Trespasser is done using inverse kinematics. No animation in the game is pre-animated. Every movement of every dinosaur is generated automatically through their artificial intelligence. These huge plans were shown by Seamus Blackley in an interview during development.
The thing about the dinosaurs that makes them so realistic is that they're physically modeled. And that means that instead of being animated and coming after you with some kind of animation cycles or run cycles, they're actually using their muscles and their bones to get at you. So if there's a tree in the way, they can knock the tree down and they can stumble over it. And if you run into a little house, they're going to beat their head into the house and they're going to try to rip the door off of the thing. If you're running away from them and you're throwing stuff at them, they're going to trip over it.
And due to the rush development, this feature resulted in very awkward movements. Trespasser was designed to have a complex artificial intelligence routine, giving each creature on the island its own set of emotions and the possibility of dinosaurs fighting each other. Dinosaurs would react to the player differently depending on what mood they were in. However, system bugs in the artificial intelligence routines made it so that dinosaurs would switch between mood-based actions so quickly that they would stop moving and acting. A quick fix was hard-coded into the game that maximized the anger and hunger emotions of carnivorous dinosaurs, and left all other emotions at zero. This will cause even more complaints of how that environment felt so dull. During development, the game was meant to be so hyper-realistic that it didn't feature a health bar. Instead, Annie's health is represented by a heart-shaped tattoo on her breast that the player can look down to. What the f***? Anyways, back to the video. By pressing a key, Annie will extend her arm out into the game world, allowing the player to pick up, swing, push, and throw objects. This was meant to be part of the advanced ragdoll physics and the ultra immersive feeling of the game. I believe that Trespasser could have been so much more. And maybe with just a bigger budget and more time, it could have been one of the most revolutionary games. And although it was described as a complete failure, it still has a wide community, with mom makers to just average players. Online fan communities such as the Trespasser Hacking Society and Trespasser Secrets, both now dead, and Tres.com, which remains active as of 2025. Members of these communities developed fan-made software to examine, preview, and eventually edit Trespassers, such as the TresEd level editor. This will later lead to a community across the internet with different content creators reporting about it. I'd like to give a special thanks to Clayton Fiordi for the idea of this video. Seriously, I could have not done this without him. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe and comment any advice, good or bad, for future references. And if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I want to continue to make videos like this, so it's a huge help. And like always, peace out.